It is Sunday, the 27th of June, 2021. We're looking at the Facebook group, Unitarian Universalism, Faith of the Free. And some minutes ago, I posted a somewhat controversial comment, but dealing with things that need to be dealt with. And so we'll just scroll down here and have a look. So this is the comment, and it says the following comment posted in response to a recent post in the Braver, Wiser Unitarian Universalist Facebook group was deleted, aka memory hold. Memory holding comments that expose and denounce injustices and abuses within the Unitarian Universalist community violates UU principles, notably the fourth and second principles. It's not written there, but the fourth principle calls for Unitarian Universalists to engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Key word there being responsible. And the second principle calls for Unitarian Universalists to practice justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Actually, strictly speaking, it does not call upon Unitarian Universalists to actually practice justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. It calls upon them to affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. So in a way, it's almost a call to hypocrisy, like affirm and promote justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, but don't feel the need to actually practice them, if you see what I'm getting at here. Maybe they should change their principles, tweak them a bit so it no longer says affirm and promote, but says actually practice in real life, because they certainly do not practice justice, equity, and compassion in human relations when somebody complains about clergy abuse of one kind or another, whether it's sexual abuse or non-sexual abuse. Absolutely no justice, no equity, no compassion in that scenario. Quite the opposite. They go to extreme and foolish lengths to pervert justice, obstruct justice, and cover up and hide the clergy abuse in question. So let's continue with the comment. So it's talking about, memory holding the comment. So this is the actual comment, and this comment was also posted in the Braver, Wiser Unitarian Universalist Association sponsored Facebook page, and it said, if Unitarian Universalists are going to say that Unitarian Universalism is a faith that is committed to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, Unitarian Universalists have to practice genuine justice, equity, and compassion in human relations when injustices and abuses occur within the UU community itself. At present, Unitarian Universalists have a terrible track record when it comes to dealing responsibly with UU clergy abuse. The UUA not only obstructs justice for victims of UU clergy abuse, but it goes to extremely unethical lengths to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape committed by UUA clergy and UUA religious educators. Unitarian Universalists who are genuinely committed to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations have to go on public record condemning and repudiating any and all UUA clergy abuse, cover-up, and denial. Any UUs who fail or refuse to do so are complicit. At present, all UUA leaders and many UUA ministers are complicit in the UUA's abusive misuse of Canada's blasphemy law and child sex abuse cover-up legal bullying. They are also complicit in the bald-faced lie that UUA Moderator Jim Key told in the UUA Board's less than honest and thus worthless, in quotation marks, official apology for UU clergy sexual misconduct. And I link to the blog post that goes into quite a bit of detail about how UUA Moderator minimized Unitarian Universalism's clergy sexual misconduct problem in general in his UUA Board apology that he delivered at the 2014 General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, also known as the 2014 UUAGA. They do like the acronyms. So that's the comment that was originally posted to the Braver Wiser Facebook page in response to a closely related post. In other words, the post basically was talking about Unitarian Universalists, having to practice justice, not just talk about it, in a different context, racism and so on, white supremacy. And I just pointed out, well, you got to do the same thing when it comes to clergy abuse. But that was deleted memory hold on the Braver Wiser group, and I was blocked from posting any more comments. So definitely not practicing UU principles. I mean, how can anyone engage in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning of any particular comment or post when that post or comment is memory hold? It's not possible to do so. So let's continue down to the bottom here. End quote. And then I go on to say, the memory hold comment did not have these photos attached to it, but I'm adding these photos to call attention to a very serious UUA perversion of justice that not only wantonly disregards and flagrantly violates UU principles and ideals, but ignominiously terminated a centuries-old tradition of opposing blasphemy laws that Unitarians and Universalists upheld until the spring of 2012. The UUA has never held anyone responsible for this abusive misuse of Canada's blasphemy law in child sex abuse cover-up legal bullying accountable, and current UUA leaders obstinately refuse to formally withdraw the UUA's false accusation of blasphemous libel, publicly apologize for it, and publicly disclose the whole truth about UUA clergy who are guilty of such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape, to say nothing of UUA religious educators and prominent lay leaders who are also guilty of these despicable crimes. Please prevail upon UUA President Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, UUA co-moderators Reverend Meg Riley and Charles Dumond, and the UUA Board of Trustees to respond in responsibility to my legitimate grievances about past and ongoing UUA cover-up and denial of child sex abuse committed by UUA clergy, etc. And then I have the hashtag UUAGA, UUAGA21, and UUAGA 2021. And I kind of had a bit of fun and indicated that I was at the Unitarian Universalist Association. Obviously, I'm not there in real life, but this post is about the Unitarian Universalist Association, and so I tagged it in the post. And then we'll scroll down a bit more, and we'll see the photos. So this is me standing in front of Canada's Parliament in 2015 during the Canadian Unitarian Council's annual general meeting, which is usually held in May. So this is May 2015, 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago, and I'm protesting, saying Unitarian Universalists misuse Canada's blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. And then the sign in the background says Unitarian perversion of justice sucks, U*. You can figure out what that says. And I also protested, at the site of the GA itself, but I thought I'd bring my protest to Ottawa's Parliament Hill as well. Then below that, we have the letter, the actual letter that was sent to me by the Unitarian Universalist Association's Canadian attorney. Let's see if I can click on it and make it bigger. Okay, so yeah, that's the letter. A little off to the left there. I suppose I could move the camera, but let's see here. No, I'm not going to bother moving the camera, just keep things as is. So it says, your unfounded and vicious allegations to the effect that ministers of the association engage in such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape are similarly defamatory to an extent such that they constitute blasphemous libel, which is prohibited under Section 296 of the Criminal Code, RSC 1985, C 46.1. Accordingly, you are hereby put on notice to immediately A. Take down all web postings you have made concerning the association and its women ministers that are or could be considered sexually oriented and or defamatory. Cease and desist from posting on the internet defamatory or sexually oriented comments about the association and its women ministers. and cease and desist from making threatening or sexually oriented comments to ministers orally and or in writing. We trust that these requests will be fully implemented by close of business on June 4th, 2012. Well, yes, the previous parts of the cease and desist demand letter had falsely accused me of sexual harassment of Reverend Dr. Kelly Murphy Mason for using the term sucks and blows at the same time to describe her two-faced hypocrisy, where she totally contradicted herself very rapidly. Like within a very short time frame, she completely went against something she had said, let's say hours earlier. So that's what's called sucking and blowing at the same time, and it's not sexual at all. It's about inhaling and exhaling at the same time. Not sexual. But they tried to pretend that this was sexual harassment of Reverend Dr. Kelly Murphy Mason, just as they tried to pretend that blogging about pedophiles and rapists is blaspheming against the Unitarian Universalist Church. I will add that in doing so, they somewhat inadvertently deemed pedophilia and rape to be sacred and holy to Unitarian Universalism, because blasphemy, blaspheming against something, is essentially attacking something that's considered to be sacred and holy. It used to be God, but then it sort of got broadened out to religious beliefs and things that are held sacred by religions and so on and so forth. So in accusing me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel, which is accusing me of blaspheming against the Unitarian Universalist Church for criticizing such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, Richard Buell, and others. Those were the only two that I named at the time, but there are others. Stephen Craig Bullite comes to mind. Reverend Ron Robinson comes to mind. There are some others that come to mind who I will not name at the moment, but there are other cases, even cases where Unitarian Universalist ministers have been charged, tried, and convicted of the sexual abuse of children. There's a few things I'm keeping to myself until the UUA sorts this situation out. So that's it. So here's the clincher, though. So that comment was posted. We can see that it's there on the Unitarian Universalism Faith of the Free Facebook page. But this is a window that I kept open of my posting. And I should add that this is actually my second posting of that comment, because I did post it a bit earlier, and it was almost immediately deleted memory hold by whoever moderates the Unitarian Universalism Faith of the Free site. I have a pretty good idea of who it is, but I'm not going to name names at the moment. So this is actually my second posting, and I knew that they might very well delete that one too. So I kept the page open because I said, what, we're gonna document this. We're gonna show how Unitarian Universalists respond to things. And here we go. So this is a more recent view of the Unitarian Universalism Faith of Free page. And look there, my comment's not gone. Apparently I could still create a post. Apparently I could repost it for a third time. But that's the page. And my comment is no longer there. Let's go back to the earlier posting, and I'll show that that's my post. There's the photos, and then there's the what was the top level post before I posted, dating back to March 22nd. So we can see the difference here. And what I find ironic about this is, like, my post was about deleting and memory holding posts, basically saying if you delete and memory hole posts about Unitarian Universalist injustices, if you're not speaking out against them, you're complicit. In fact, when you actively delete, if you actively get rid of a comment or a post, you are a knowing and willful participant in Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial of pedophilia and rape, if that's what the post is about. If I'm posting about Unitarian Universalists cover up and denial of pedophilia and rape, and you delete that post, if you memory hole that post, well, guess what? You're actively involved in the cover-up and denial, or at least the cover-up, of the cover-up and denial of pedophilia and rape, and thus, by extension, you're covering up the pedophilia and rape itself. So we've gone on for about 15 minutes here. I know this camera cuts out a bit at 17 minutes, so I think we're almost done here. So we'll see what happens, but the UUAGA is happening, and I've been tweeting about it. Let's see, have I got some tweets? I'm not going to go to my tweets because I don't know what's there, but that's it. My post is not there. That's the more recent page, and whoops, okay, so that is some tweets. Clicked on the wrong thing here. There we go. So that's the post that got memory holed twice. So that's how Unitarian Universalists operate. The vast majority of them, whether they're UUA leaders or ordinary run-of-the-mill Unitarian Universalists, instead of saying, hey, wait a minute, it's wrong to misuse blasphemy law to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape. I mean, it's wrong to cover up and deny pedophilia and rape at all, no matter how you do it, but it's especially egregious to falsely accuse someone of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in an attempt to intimidate them into deleting blog posts. They're all part of the problem, and there's literally hundreds of Unitarian Universalists that act like this, and that they're clearly violating the fourth principle, which calls for which calls for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. They make it impossible to search for truth and meaning when they delete comments and posts, and by extension, they're making it impossible to obtain justice.